As the industrial base has been moved from the first world to the third world, as China, India, and other such countries have become the workshops of the world, many claim that this deindustrialization means that somehow the first world is more oppressed than the third world. I mean, this idea is simply nonsensical when we look at living standards and the differences between the advanced countries and the underdeveloped countries. Now, one of the things that first worlders like to say is that somehow it's more expensive to live in the first world than it is in the third world, and they point to price differentials between buying something in the first world and in the third world. Of course, this is completely nonsense when we consider that there isn't a medium income of $30,000 to $50,000 in third world countries that would afford that kind of buying power. Now, this does go back somewhat to the discussion that I was having with Sargon of Akkad, that it's actually more expensive to live in the third world. Well, now, a World Food Program study has been carried out which shows that using a meal of beans, that it is definitely significantly more expensive to live in terms of food than in the third world than it is the first world. An average person living in New York State would spend about 0.6% of his or her daily income on ingredients for a 600-calorie bean stew, approximately $1.20 in India. Most people would find these ingredients readily affordable, with real costs coming to $9.25 or 4.25% of daily income. The situation is far more serious in other parts of the world, particularly Africa. Someone living in South Sudan would have to work for a day and a half to afford a basic meal, with the cost of ingredients 155% of their daily income. The real price of a plate of bean stew in South Sudan would be $321.70. Unsurprisingly, many of the country's inhabitants are struggling to feed themselves. This is a very massive difference in being able to feed yourself. Yes, prices are lower in the third world, but so are the wages that people receive. It's almost kind of insulting when people try to claim that someone who lives in the first world, who has access to all the benefits of particularly infrastructure, etc., can claim that they are just as poor as someone in the third world because they're both employed and therefore have the same class interests. I mean, this is frankly just untrue, because people in the third world are suffering to a great deal. And it is true that much of the benefits that first world people enjoy are a result of the super exploitation of the third world. I mean, this isn't really a new line coming from third worldism. Much of this goes back to what Lenin wrote about the Second International, about the social democratic countries in Western Europe, particularly as being people who have been bought off by the ruling classes inside those countries and end up supporting the wars, the imperialist conquests, in order to forward their own material interests. So, I mean, it's just important to give just a little bit of data showing that this position by first worldists is wholly incorrect. One cannot claim that when they live in the first world that somehow they're just as poor as a person in the third world, and particularly as it relates to prices, and I think this is a good piece of data that shows just that. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.